It's twilight in the St. Louis area, and soon it will be dark. Night racing on an oval. IndyCar is coming up. Drivers are strapped in. Let's go downstairs as we get set to begin.
Gateway race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Please welcome President of Bomarito Automotive Group, Mr. John Bomarito.
On behalf of the Bomarito Automotive Group and Bomarito.com, where price and selection sell cars. Gentlemen, start your engines!
I tell you what, I got no problem with the sales pitch because John Bomarito has gone out of his way with Curtis Francois on this track. They have done a fantastic job of promoting IndyCar.
Let me tell you what, that guy knows how to sell.
Nationwide promotion, getting the crowds in here big time from all over the United States and some guys from Australia.
Time to get after it down to the pit lane to Jan Beekes.
Yes, it is, Kevin. And Scott Dixon, of course, starts on the pole by virtue of being the championship point leader. But remember, just 1 week ago, Scott was critical of the way pole sitter Will Power brought them up to green in Pocono. Now he has that responsibility. I wouldn't be surprised if Scott Dixon, by the way, he's since apologized to Will. I would look for him to hit the hammer early and try and pull away. Anders?
Yeah, and one of the most disappointed drivers, of course, with this is Tony Kanaan. He was lightning quick in practice, second and then seventh. But I think what we're going to see from Tony Kanaan today can be one of those classic Tony Kanaan high lines around the outside of turn one. So watch out at the start, Katie.
Anders, speaking of fast, last night in final practice, it was rookie Pietro Fittipaldi who was on top of the charts. And when a guy gets out of the car and says Hickory Motor Speedway is his favorite track in the world, you know he loves short ovals. Robin, I can't wait to watch him put on a show from 21st tonight.
Okay, Katie, it's the last short oval of the year. It's the last oval of the year. We hope it's not like Phoenix. That wasn't very exciting. We want this race to be just like Iowa was. One of the best short track races we've seen in 15 years. So much passing, so much overtaking, so much strategy. We think we'll see it tonight because the drivers are getting out of the throttle. They're having to use the brakes. Guys are getting runs. We'll see what's going on. Hopefully it's going to be just like Iowa was, Kevin.
Oh, and some trouble for James Hinchcliffe. He has not left the grid at this point. And they're looking inside the cockpits. So that could be anything from a radio issue to
a
belts.
seatbelt. He's had several seatbelt issues this season, but I saw them go in with some sort of pliers, Paul.
Yeah, I saw pliers there too, and I don't know what you would want to use a pair of channel lock pliers on in the cockpit, but he has had multiple seatbelt issues.
And most importantly, I think he beat the pace car out as we see a touching three-wide tribute here.
This is a salute to the fans and also a salute to the heritage of IndyCar racing, which is the three-wide start for the Indianapolis 500. So let's see how they line up by entrant points because qualifying was rained out, so the championship leaders are in the front.
Two hottest guys in the series start on the front row by virtue of that qualifying rainout. Alexander Rossi and Scott Dixon. We saw Alexander Rossi practice the high line in practice, Paul. Be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, Simon Pagenaud struggled in practice, but he was last year's front runner the whole race and got pushed out by his teammates. So watch for him. Guy who was really quick all weekend was Sebastian Bourdais, so watch out for him. Marco Andretti's also been very good too.
Marco Andretti never afraid to go high and do it early on the opening laps. And like Anders said, we've got to watch Tony Kanaan in that 14 AJ Foyt car. This historically in the last couple years, the last year, the best track for AJ Foyt racing. And Tony Kanaan's got a rocket with him tonight.
Let's not forget Zach Veach. Everybody's claiming he's got the best car, but Gabby Chavez back in the car. He's had solid practice sessions. And Pietro Fittipaldi, lightning fast last night in final practice.
So there are 5 pace laps here tonight, a couple 3 wide, and then they'll transition back into rows of 2, as is traditionally the case outside of Indianapolis. And we'll have several fantastic looks on board. And we start with Zach Veach. PT mentioned it. Will Power said he might have the best car here tonight, and Veach was one of those that had moved up to the front row. He'll slide back in his position. He has the Group 1001 on board, starting 16th. James Hinchcliffe, starting in the 8th position, has the Lucas Oil on board. By points, Graham Rahal lining up in the 7th position with the MyJack on board. The driver of number 1, the defending winner of this race, and the defending champ, Josef Newgarden, starting third, and he has our Verizon streaming on board. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile exclusively from Verizon, America's best streaming network. And then the front row also have great looks with not much other than Sarah Fisher in the pace car ahead. Alexander Rossi, who has the Verizon on board, starting on the outside of the front row. And by virtue of being the championship leader, the PNC Bank on board will show us the view of Scott Dixon. So yesterday, it was a perfect day once the rain stopped. A great evening practice, 70 degrees. Now today, 20 degrees cooler, 17 degrees warmer on the track temp. Impact?
Well, I think what I've heard about the tires they're running this year is that they're very durable. These track temperatures well below where they tested a few weeks ago. So I fully expect, based on the feedback I've had from the engineers, that the drivers will be able to go the full fuel stint with very little fall off in performance.
Well, that's what they say, but what they do might be a different story. We've seen fall off in the tires throughout all the ovals this year. I'm hoping they do fall off and guys start slipping and sliding and going on different strategies.
One thing's for sure, you run in traffic, Kevin, less downforce in traffic, that puts more demand on the tires. Look at the crowd. Big crowd.
Great crowd again here. Coming to 1 to go at the line. We'll go green next time by. IndyCar fans of the Midwest have shown up on full force again tonight for the final oval of 2018. We're thinking 4 stops in strategy tonight.
The start is going to be critical tonight. We saw Rossi practice the start with his teammates last night on the outside. Look at him feverishly warming up the tires, spinning up the tires. Man, I just think, Townsend, he's going to be going for it on the outside.
Well, he only knows one speed, and that's max attack. And for Alexander Rossi, Scott Dixon only knows one thing, that's winning races and championships. The winningest driver in the field starts up front on pole.
We'll see how aggressive they are from the get-go. The 2 championship leaders on the front row as they start by points. It's the final oval of 2018. Just 3 to go to decide the championship. IndyCar racing under the lights on the oval. It's go time from Gateway.
Not a great start for Rossi. He got jumped by a couple guys. Look at Will Power on the outside.
Whoa.
Big move.
The power move looking high. He goes around his teammate Newgarden. Now Pagenaud is challenging Rossi.
Rossi's getting swallowed up. He's going to lose. Oh,
Yellow.
that car spinning in. Damage to Bourdais. What a shame.
He was fast yesterday in practice, but he won't get through the first lap. For the second year in a row, there's a crash on the opening lap here.
Last year it was Bourdais getting caught up.
You okay, Seb? You okay?
In Will Power's
Yeah,
incident. Nice to hear that he's fine. Have to figure out exactly how he got into the wall.
Yeah, he was all the way towards the back, and I was concentrating on Will Power coming off the corner and where Rossi was at, but more than likely the turbulence and just cold tires, car probably just got away from him.
He started right in the mid-pack, 9th, but it looked like he'd even slip back a little bit further at the beginning.
And I think the benefit there is for Alexander Rossi because he was getting swallowed up by Simon Pagenaud. We'll watch the replay and you'll see the 2 silver Penske's fan out and swallow up Rossi there. Newgarden to the inside, Power to the outside. Watch Power here, just total commitment. And now Rossi's going to maybe fall back to 5th position right when the yellow comes out.
Bourdais might have touched with Ed Jones. They might have touched wheels. We lost it out of the sight, but they were 3 wide, and Bourdais was in the middle of the 3 cars, and I think he just got pinched and touched. So we'll watch coming down into here to 1, and we'll see Bourdais.
Was it Ed Carpenter on the low side? It looked like a dark car.
Oh, look
at that
Newgarden.
wiggle.
Newgarden had a massive moment down low, and I'm guessing everybody had to check up.
Yeah, really hard to see. We haven't got a really good clear shot of him.
Leaders going green, green, green.
That was almost like Pocono last week.
I think he touched wheels with the blue car right here. If you watch going around the corner, I think they touched right
3, 2.
there. Look, he just got loose.
Just lost it, Paul.
He was in the middle of 2 cars there,
and it wasn't Ed Carpenter. He was behind.
And boy, Veach narrowly avoided 2 incidents. And so, think about Spencer Pigot. He got drilled from behind at Pocono. He almost got hit by Veach there on the start. So a single car incident with Bourdais. Nice to see he's all right, but frustrating given how strong they were in practice.
So under yellow for the second year in a row after the first lap. We'll see if anybody takes an early stop, and then we'll get a restart coming up in just a moment from Gateway. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Bomarito Automotive Group. Shop Bomarito.com, where Price sells cars. By United Rentals, official equipment rental services provider of IndyCar, and proud sponsor of Graham Rahal. And by Honda, an official vehicle of the Verizon IndyCar Series. It was Thursday night, the Fan Fest here in the St. Louis area. Jordan King not racing this weekend. Ed Jones is, showing off their soccer skills. Under our first caution from the first lap, a single car incident with Sebastian Bourdais. Two came in to top off, Max Chilton and Pietro Fittipaldi at the back. The championship leader, Scott Dixon, is in front, but Will Power has jumped from fourth to second. And set to go green this time, on board with Alexander Rossi, who rides in third. Joseph Newgarden had a little moment. He's right behind him in fourth.
Green, green, green.
And then Simon Pagenaud back to green, racing at Gateway. Ryan Hunter-Reay pops out, looking for a position in the back, and Alexander Rossi is trying to go to the low side of Joseph Newgarden.
Well, I'll tell you what, he wasn't going to the low side. Newgarden was coming around him. That was two bad starts in a row for Rossi. He didn't get a very good initial start, and he missed that one as he tries to come back now on the outside, but that's going to be a tough one to do.
Be fun to watch.
Oh.
Newgarden had a big moment there. This might allow Rossi to come right back on him on the front straight. Here comes Rossi.
Big protect move down the outside. He did the same move last year. He's going in deep.
You know where he learned that? From Joseph Newgarden last year,
Rossi's
putting that
got
move
another
on
run.
Pagenaud.
Another big run coming off the corner. Rossi's car cuts so good on the bottom, but Joseph Newgarden protecting the bottom of the track. He's got another run on him. Newgarden keeps running up high. He's got another run.
Ryan,
Look at that.
back and holding it, two back.
Meanwhile, Ryan Hunter-Reay has moved up to fifth and is within range.
Wouldn't surprise me if Rossi's team selected a gear package to optimize for race running in case they have to drop down to fourth like he did there, or even third, and that hung him out on the start. So his advantage might be at racing speeds, but looks to be a little disadvantaged on restarts as we see Hunter-Reay working fifth place there, chased by Pagenaud. Zach Veach up 6 positions since the start.
Look at Ed Jones in that blue car right behind the yellow Menards car. Simon Pagenaud. Jones in 7th, then Andretti and Hinchcliffe on board with Zach Veach up 6 spots from 16th to 10th.
Yeah, he's been renowned in the paddock that he had the best car in final practice, and he's really slicing through the field.
And he talked about having to start 16th was a little bit of a punch in the gut. And he likes the way the car works, and he was surprised to hear that one of the other teams said that he had the fastest theoretical lap of anyone. He says, I love the car in testing, I like how it works, and he says, I'm just going to have to look for opportunities to work my way through traffic, Anders.
Yeah, an unfortunate night for Sebastian Bourdais. Sebastian, I was talking to Dale Coyne yesterday. He was talking about just the speed that you guys have displayed on the ovals this year, but nothing has come of it as far as results are concerned. Here you are, yet another disappointment. What, from your perspective, what happened?
Yeah, like we were talking about it before. Like I asked you if you saw something, and it felt like you kind of got pushed by the air. Really, it just the car kind of started to make a slow rear slide, and I didn't really know if I got touched or anything. And I have no idea if I made the mistake or if I got touched. So, just really unfortunate. We had a really good car. I was really hoping for a qualifying. Unfortunately, we started 9th. Didn't really try to do anything stupid or special, just car just got away, I guess.
2 races to go this year. What can you make of the rest of the year to build some momentum for 2019?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some good results, some really kind of to forget weekends, but we've had pace, so it would have been good to finish on a stretch of 5 nice races. We had 2 in the bag, and we're really counting to try and carry the momentum, but obviously it was not to be tonight, so we'll keep on plugging away and see what we can do in Portland and Sonoma.
Another disappointing night for Sebastian Bourdais.
We're watching Alexander Rossi, who lost a spot on the start, another spot on the restart, running in 4th, but still working on Joseph Newgarden up ahead.
Working on Joseph Newgarden and working on the balance of his Napa car there. Rossi and Zach Veach, teammates on the Andretti team, both very deliberate, kind of liberal use of the bars, the anti-roll bar controls in the car, trying to figure out in traffic what's the best way to get the car rebalanced.
Well, the two guys that were quickest last night were Dixon and Rossi, and Power and Newgarden were pretty much nowhere. They must have had a major think about it overnight, because they have now, with their setup changes, have really come alive, and Power's right there with Dixon.
But we're only 16 laps into the stint here, so 40 laps to go on these tires. Anders, what do you know?
Yeah, and with James Hinchcliffe, it was a very unfortunate circumstance where the data download cable actually was unable to be disconnected when they were firing up the engine, so that took a lengthy bit of time. So yeah, very unfortunate circumstances for the entire Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports crew, guys.
Well, I wonder if they got the pliers in there and cut that cable with the way things were going in there.
Started 8th, running 9th. Saw him try to make a move on Marco Andretti earlier for position.
Looked to me like Newgarden got awfully high out of turn 4. He had contact last night in practice in turn 4, getting high in the groove. So I wonder now if he's starting to struggle a little bit, like we just talked about, Paul, and look at how close Rossi is there.
Yeah, he said he lost his perspective of where he was at in the wall. We talked about it last night. There's a big shadow from the lights as you see coming down the front. So you see the shadow right here? That when it gets really dark out, it kind of throws off your perspective and where you're at coming off the corner, and he hit the wall pretty hard last night.
Last night in practice, we had this exact view. It was Will Power in front, and I thought Power's car looked pretty loose in 3 and 4. Let's watch Newgarden up ahead here of Rossi. You can see it wiggling around. Gets a little high in that groove.
Definitely need front wing.
That's Rossi.
Rossi says he needs front wing, so that means he's got understeer. So they're going to try to balance the car on the first stop, Jan.
Yes, and we saw two things there. One is that Joseph Newgarden, the trouble he had last night is where he's approaching now. That's the approach to turn number 3. The car was loose going in. I think we saw an example of that from riding with Alexander Rossi. Now for Alexander Rossi, they have a decision to make. Because there's 6 laps of yellow, and because he wants that more front wing, they can make a decision. Do we pedal back now and try to make this a 3-stop race? Remember, he's been the master this year at saving fuel. If your car's not fast, pedal it down and say, hey, maybe that opportunity will come to you. They needed yellow to make it work, and they got it.
Really love that view, that nose cam of Alexander Rossi, because as we get deeper into the stint, you can start to see how is the balance of the car in front. And so far, it looks like Newgarden's able to hold on, but still over 25 laps until the next pit stop.
And meanwhile, Scott Dixon has opened up over a 1-second advantage on Will Power, who made an impressive move on the outside to get from 4th to 2nd at the start. That's where he's at now, followed by Newgarden, Rossi, Hunter-Reay. That's the top 5. There's the lead. Scott Dixon, the championship leader, up 29 coming in, looking for title number 5 with 3 races to go. Watch every IndyCar race online on mobile, tablet, and connected TV devices with the NBC Sports app. Download the app or find out more at NBCSports.com. Still in the early going of the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 from Gateway Motorsports Park. Scott Dixon started on pole. He has led throughout, and now he's starting to catch lap traffic. That's Max Chilton right ahead of him, running in 20th.
Max Chilton, Dixon's ex-teammate from last year. They're really good buddies, so we'll see if he can get close enough and see if Chilton plays ball with him and lets him go, or wants to stay on the lead lap.
Wheel 3 will help.
And we're only about halfway to the first round of pit stops. Come in a little bit earlier than that, or you can really stay out a few extra laps because of the yellow. And maybe someone is thinking they can do it on 3.
Here's a guy we haven't talked a whole lot about the last few races, but the number 22 is Simon Pagenaud, quietly marching around in 6th right now. But remember, way back at the start of the season, Pagenaud was down in 15th, 16th in points. Horrible start to the year. As they run right now, Pagenaud 6th in the championship. And if he can close this out with a podium, Paul, he's going to be a factor down the stretch. I don't know if he's championship contender.
Yeah, I mean, he loves that Menards car. This is a big area for these guys, and he's had a bit of a frustrating year. It's like it's not gone the way he wants, but I mean, you got to think he's going to bounce back next year. I mean, the first year he was at Penske was a struggle, and he came back and won a championship. This year's been a bit of a struggle. I'd expect now that he's signed a new contract, Jan, I would think he's got a little bit of breath of relief and just can focus going forward.
Yes, it was very interesting when we asked him that question in the practice show from last night. He said, well, I don't know why that was such a big deal. I knew I was going to re-sign, but I certainly get the sense that we all know until pen is put to paper, you don't really breathe that sigh of relief, like you said, Paul. But what he's been working with, many of the Penske cars had that instability in turn number 3. So his engineering team said, that is job number 1. If we can settle down the back of the car in turn number 3, then during the race, we'll make it faster, but we have to fix that problem first.
Simon Pagenaud running in 6th. Right behind him is Ed Jones in the NTT Data car. He's up 5 spots, running in 7th. So while Simon Pagenaud says his future wasn't in question, I think it's pretty safe to say that Ed Jones' future in the number 10 is in question. Chip Ganassi recently said, we're evaluating that car to some extent, and Robin Miller has reported that Felix Rosenqvist will be in that car.
And let's make something absolutely clear, Paul. You and I both know this from experience. It doesn't matter if you have a 1-year contract, a 5-year contract, or no contract. You're evaluated every race, every session. Your team owners are constantly trying to figure out where's the advantage, how am I going to beat the next guy, and you're always on pins and needles in this business.
Well, I know from my own experience from when I drove for Roger that I was on the verge of being fired every year of my contract. So
every year? How about every week?
Every week, yeah. So
and you were twice, right?
It happened twice, so it can happen at any time.
Well, one way to ensure employment is to keep performing like these two have. 2 American stars in this sport, riding with Rossi, chasing Newgarden. And Kevin, I think we're going to see these two going at it all night.
Yeah, he's been working on Newgarden for 3rd, and here's some recent radio communication we picked up off the 27 radio.
You're the only car that can run that close to anyone. Be patient, it'll come to us. Yep, copy that, same page.
How often do you hear the drivers say, be patient, it'll come to us?
Absolutely. That shows how confident he is in his ability of when he's going to make his move. But most guys would be screaming on the radio, I can't get close, I need a change, I need wing, I need tire. And he's just, hey, I'm going to wait it out here. And he knows he's got a good car.
How much are things likely to change from early in a stint towards the end of a stint?
Well, I think like we talked about 20 laps ago, I think Newgarden's better at the beginning. Rossi's better all the way through the stint. And I think you see Newgarden kind of hanging on a little bit. Rossi able to draw ever closer, but can he get by? That's the question.
The way I can see these guys driving as we go back to Dixon here, it looks like Newgarden is really driving into the corner deep, and Rossi's back in the corner up and getting a good run off.
Down to Anders. He's with Mike Hull, is calling strategy for Scott Dixon.
And Mike Hull, obviously, Scott Dixon being held up in traffic right now. How early do you consider coming into the pits now that the 4-stop window's open?
Well, I couldn't hear all of that, but I think the answer you want to hear is we have a really well-balanced car. We worked really hard last night in that 90-minute session to do what we're doing right now. But we also found out last night the track really changes as the temperature comes down. I think that's the key to the race.
Any thoughts about when you're going to bring him in?
Well, in the 50s, I would guess everybody, provided it's green, will come in the 50s.
Thanks very much. It's Mike Hull.
And that's right on target for the 4-stop strategy. Good information from Anders and Mike Hull. Scott Dixon in charge so far. He's led all 41 laps, but others are lurking at Gateway in St. Louis. About a quarter of the way through the Bomarito Automotive Group 500, just on the Illinois side of the Mississippi River. Outside of St. Louis is Alexander Rossi. Makes a move on Joseph Newgarden, going for 3rd, and he stormed that position.
That's the Newgarden move from last year, and he just put it back on Newgarden. What a pass.
Dose of his own medicine, and that was really tight for Alexander Rossi between Newgarden and the wall on the front straight. You could see the dust flying up. Nobody's been there at any point since we arrived here.
Looked like my move on Carpentier a few years back. But he got the run right there, and Newgarden knew right away and protected. And he said, I'm coming through, don't matter. He had the momentum. Great pass, unbelievable. Some of the passes he's pulled off this year, Townsend, especially Indy on those restarts, unbelievable.
Well, especially passing a guy who is his equal. I mean, Joseph Newgarden has pulled off. Think of the moves Newgarden put on not only Pagenaud here last year, also at Mid-Ohio, a few weeks ago. But it's all Alexander Rossi on the charge. He's got to clear this lap car, and he can go after Power and Dixon.
We'll see how much more pace he has to be able to catch up to Will Power. Now, meanwhile, after we're done tonight, you can see Mecum Auctions from Monterey. Spoiler alert, if you don't want to know what the 100th Indy 500 winner went for, look away for a moment. But Alexander Rossi's car was on the block and was sold for a pretty nice penny, Townsend.
Mecum is all about opportunity. I was there on Tuesday and Wednesday this week in Monterey, which is just a glorious time of year for car lovers. And what a great opportunity. It's not very often an Indy 500 winning car ever transacts, and somebody's going to go home very happy as Rossi's getting closer to that lap car at Chilton.
And there's the leader, Scott Dixon.
Will Power's closed down now on the back of Scott Dixon now that he's in lap traffic. But look at last year, Townsend. Look at this.
I haven't forgotten it. Pagenaud thinking he's low enough to defend, and Newgarden, his teammate, just jams through. Big old elbows out. I'm coming. I don't care if we're teammates. No team orders here at Penske. Pagenaud furious. And the identical thing just happened to Newgarden. Rossi pushing his way through. No contact. I bet Newgarden remembered the contact from last year and was smart enough to say, I'm going to give him room. Only 20% into this race so far.
Absolutely. So let's watch the lap times now, because the leader's last lap were 26.1, 26.3. Rossi just ripped off a 25.8.
Clean air. No
that
traffic.
Lap a 25.6. So he is flying like he did at Pocono last week, where he got out in clean air and was absolutely flying. So expect him to chase these guys down.
Lap 55, Scott Dixon knows that pit stops are coming up very soon, so I don't think he's going to push the issue to get by Pietro Fittipaldi, the car in front, the slower car in front.
He was 5 seconds out when he was behind Newgarden, and now he's 2.3 behind Dixon. So he's carved half of that lead back within just a couple of laps.
Now, for all of these guys, you need to do 62 laps on the first stint to have a chance of making this race on just 3 stops. Remember, we had 6 laps of yellow to start the race, but also 5 laps of pace laps burning fuel. So, Jan, do you think this thing can be done in 3 without much more yellow to the end?
Yes, I do, but it all depends on the kind of pace you're running right now. The indicator will be when they pit. If you see them pit before lap 62, that would indicate you're on a 4-stopper, pardon me. If you can take it all the way to lap 62, that opens the window then to reduce it to 3 stops.
So there you go. There's a chance.
Well, Rossi's flying. He's carved that lead down now to 2 seconds, 2.2, and he was 5 out literally 5 laps ago. So he's chasing these guys down. And I got a feeling, Townsend, with the momentum he's got, he might just, like he did last night in practice, when he gets there, he might blow by these guys.
Just like we saw last week at Pocono, your in and out lap performance is going to be critical. As you see more cars hitting pit lane, that looks like maybe Tony Kanaan. I thought I saw Marco Andretti. Also Gabby Chavez in the pit lane. So working lap 59 now, lap 60.
So the leaders are getting a little bit better fuel mileage. We've heard a couple of laps away from Scott Dixon, maybe a couple of more for Alexander Rossi. How much has he saved running much of this stint right behind Joseph Newgarden?
Rossi now right at 2 seconds behind.
Scott, we will pit.
Scott, they're going to pit him now. So here's Newgarden in.
Lap 60, so this suggests 4 stops to make it home.
And as you said, Townsend, if you do not make it to 62, it's unlikely this is going to be a 3-stopper. Now remember, he was loose early on in his stint. You see that Ryan Hunter-Reay is following him in. So these will be simultaneous pit stops. We'll watch both of them at the same time to see who can get the track position. No changes. Yes, changes on the front wing. Drop back to Anders.
And it's been silent on the radio of Scott Dixon. My call just keeping him updated on everything that's going on. He didn't say that he wanted any changes from the car. However, just reducing 2 turns in front wing, so a little bit of oversteer for Scott Dixon.
Power and Rossi still on track, trying to get to 62. The gap right now is 1 second. If a yellow were to come out now, these guys would really be in a jam because they've got about a lap and a half. As we see, Rossi's now in the pit lane.
Well, this is the answer. This is a little bit early. It's possible that this could work for you as it's just ticking over to lap 62 right now. This is on the edge. At least it keeps him in the window with an opportunity. Obviously, it's brand new tires, and that's a lot of front wing. All right, now for Will Power, he will be the next one that we see service. And by the way, I asked him what they changed on this car before the race. He said front springs, rear springs, gears, toe, camber. They changed everything on this car, and he's doing well. But look on the track, Dixon has got by Rossi.
The in and out laps are going to be critical here. Rossi's got some traffic here, but he might be able to leapfrog this guy right here as he comes out of the pit lane. It's going to be a race when they come off of turn 2. We'll see where they end up. Here comes the leaders.
There's Dixon, orange and blue car. Rossi just behind. You see Will Power exiting the apron, trying to get up to speed. Can he get in front of Dixon? It doesn't look like it.
He's close. He almost those extra laps. He almost got ahead of Dixon, and Rossi's still stuck behind Matheus Leist.
Let's go back and look at Alexander Rossi leaving the pits just a moment ago. And then you can see Dixon going by on the outside.
Around your outside right now.
Full marks to whoever's on the servo control there with the IndyCar camera. Well done, guys. There's Rossi, like you said, trapped behind Matheus Leist.
Yeah, that's not helping him close this gap. So Matheus Leist now's a lap down. Wise for him to kind of get out of the way of these guys as we see Fittipaldi just pull into his pit box in the pit lane. But right now, Dixon's still in control.
Now, there's Pietro Fittipaldi, who came in and topped off on lap 4, so he had cycled up to second. We saw he was really quick yesterday, third in that final practice after they went to fresh Firestones at the end. So he's in, and Scott Dixon has reassumed the lead. Takuma Sato was the last to stay out. He came in on 64. Dixon, Power, and Rossi at Gateway. Scott Dixon, the championship leader, has dominated so far at Gateway Motorsports Park in St. Louis, only gave up the lead for the sequence of pit stops. And the next car that he would lap is Ed Carpenter, who is the subject of tonight's Chevy driver profile. There's Ed in that dark-colored Fuzzy's vodka car tonight. And 5 things you don't know about Ed Carpenter.
5 things you don't know about me. I've been around so long, I don't know how you don't know everything about me by now. I don't do enough date nights with Heather. That's one thing that people probably don't know. My boys are hockey players, so Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays pretty much consist of hockey. McKenna, our daughter, is a gymnast, so she's also Monday, Wednesday, Saturdays. So Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays are our sport days at home. Live on the same property as my family, so my brother, parents, and I all live on the same property. We call it our family compound. We've got a goat, a pet goat on the property. The goat's name is Weed. He's pretty old too. We like to go on cruises. Is probably the thing Heather and I like to do most on vacations.
I'm going to start calling my house the compound.
Let me add a 6th thing you don't know about Ed Carpenter. Hardest working driver in this race tonight. This guy is running a 2-car race team, just like Roger Penske, just like Chip Ganassi, just like Michael Andretti. It's a full-time job, and he throws the helmet on. Don't be fooled by his calm, laid-back Midwestern demeanor. This guy is operating a really well-oiled machine with Ed Carpenter Racing.
And guys, this is also his last race of the season, and it is not at all going how he would like it to. He told me before he climbed in today that he's been struggling with the balance of the car all week, and the car just feels really inconsistent. So he would like to finish his season on a high note, but it's not looking that way as he runs 16th right now.
It's really shocking when you think about the performance they had at Indianapolis, right? Such a tricky track, requires so much preparation and planning, Paul, to be fast there. And here in Pocono, it's been a struggle, and it's kind of bizarre against the contrast of Indy performance.
So fast at Indy and lightning fast for his teammate Piggott at Iowa. Yep. And then these other 2 ovals really struggle. So it's confusing for us to watch. Obviously confusing for them as a team is why they perform at certain tracks and not others.
There's Alexander Rossi, the blue and yellow car behind Scott Dixon, and then Will Power right in front of them. Those are the top three.
He's recovering now that he's gotten clear of the traffic. He's kind of pulled that back to 2 seconds again. Right now, Rossi's lapping about 1/10 of a second quicker than Will Power and Dixon.
We may have a couple of different strategies in play here. Some went 3-4 laps further than others, like the two Rahal Letterman Lanigan cars, Graham Rahal and Takuma Sato, so keep an eye on them if they're able to get it done in 3 stops. And then some others might still be on 4, and it certainly depends on when the cautions fall. All right, it's time to get updates on just about everybody in the field. It's time to go through the field, brought to you by Bomarito Automotive Group, and we start with Anders.
Yeah, and Scott Dixon may be out in front, but he is not happy. He feels as though they took out a little bit too much front wing at that previous stop, so he's just going to be nursing his front tires around. Do not want to get these things blistered around here and then make a change to the next stop. Jan?
And for Will Power, he has been pleased with his car. They made quite a few changes before the race and only made a wing change on that last pit stop. The last radio communication is that he is happy. Lots of discussions on the radio for all these drivers, including Alexander Rossi, about fuel. That's the big talk right now that each of the teams are discussing with their drivers. Do they decide to go for it? Do they decide to sort of pedal back here and keep the 3-stop strategy alive? That has yet to be known. Now, Joseph Newgarden, who follows right behind Rossi, of course, he was definitely loose in his very first stint. We sweep back and see the gap between Alexander Rossi and Joseph Newgarden, who now has to work through some traffic. And he, approaching turn number 3, right at this point of the racetrack, was not happy with his car earlier, but now it seems to have come to him. Behind is his Penske teammate, and that, of course, would be Simon Pagenaud. Easy to spot in those Menard bright yellow colors. Again, not too happy, said his car was average in the practice sessions, but it looks like it's settled down to the point now to where, again, lots of talk on the radio about fuel numbers. You don't really like to hear that, but there's some strategy that might play out later. Now, for the 28 car, of course, Ryan Hunter-Reay, also a similar situation, being a teammate to Alexander Rossi and to Zach Veach, who we know has a lot of speed. And he said he loved the way his car was performing last night. He obviously is shadowing right now Charlie Kimball. Anders?
Yeah, and Jan, Barry Wanzer, Ed Jones, the strategist, has just been encouraging, saying him that he's doing the same exact lap time as Scott Dixon, and the fact that it's just traffic keeping him from making progress. He just wants a little bit more front wing at the next stop, and then he'll be in good shape. And shifting back to Marco Andretti, him as well, he's been a little bit more vocal over the radio, saying that the car is snappy loose on entry to the corners, like he can't control it, but then he wants more front grip on the exit of the corners. So Brian Herta, his strategist, is uncertain of, do I add front wing to help with the exit of the corners, or do I take wing out to help with the entry to the corners? So Marco Andretti and Brian Herta finding themselves in a little bit of a pickle at the moment, Jan.
And Zach Veach, of course, is lurking. He would like to have those positions. He said he believes that now IndyCar racing is getting a little easier for him. We have seen him work the controls in the cars. We'll see if he makes any changes here, but he has known that left hand was off the steering wheel. That may have been a rear bar change.
And of course, a difficult night continues for James Hinchcliffe, as they were just assessed a post-race fine for dropping a wheel nut during a pit stop. So bad goes to worse, rather, out there on track. But James actually not too unhappy with his car, just saying he needs a little bit more front grip to deal with the dirty air. Katie?
Anders, how about Gabby Chavez running in 11th? He started the day in 19th. This is his first race since Iowa, and when he got out of the car on Friday, he told me, wow, this is quickly becoming my favorite short oval. The 88 just rolled off extremely well, and he says, well, I think I learned a lot with the helmet off these past few weeks, Anders.
Yeah, but Tony Kanaan is anything but happy at the moment. It feels like he had legitimately had one of the fastest 6 cars out on track, but just because of that qualifying being dropped and him having to start back in the 15th position, feeling like he's not able to do anything, and the proof's in the pudding. Can't do anything with Gabby Chavez, but he does feel like he's got the car to get the job done if he's got clean air. Katie?
Anders, Graham Rahal has lost 5 positions since the beginning of this race. That's because he had a big wiggle on the start and just lost all of his momentum. He told me this has really just been an average season. We need something good to happen here, but it looks like it's just not. Kevin?
Good work down on pit road.
Yeah, as all that happened, the gap is now tight. The front 3 cars are within 0.8 of a second.
Power within half a second. Rossi also within a second of the lead. Getting good here at Gateway. Stay with us from St. Louis. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Coca-Cola. Taste the feeling. And by Fifth Third Bank, official partner of Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. This is banking a Fifth Third better. Great crowd on hand, so many colors here, enjoying IndyCar under the lights at Gateway. We're getting close to 100 laps, and Scott Dixon has led 91 of the 96 so far, but it is heating up with Will Power and Alexander Rossi right on his tail.
Front three guys are covered by a blanket, but Dixon is not able to draw close enough to the back Townsend of Ed Carpenter for them to even call anything in for him to move in on him.
Well,
Look
I
at
think
Will Power right there.
I think for all the front runners, they're really trying to pivot now from a 4-stop potentially now to a 3-stop strategy. Need to get to about lap 124 on this stint to make it work. We heard communication in the break between Rob Edwards and Alexander Rossi specific to fuel mileage. So I think everybody's just kind of holding right here, knowing that they need to make sure they get to 124 if they can make it on 3 stops.
So the top 3 are all within 0.8 of a second, and there's some lap traffic in the mix as well. And then another 1.5 seconds or so back to 4th, and Joseph Newgarden. Simon Pagenaud is behind him, and that leads us to our Chevrolet driver update. The Penske's are Chevys, so they're running 2, 4, 5. And Gabby Chavez with a really nice run in his first race back in a while. He sat out the last 3 while Harding was experimenting with Connor Daly.
Got to recognize Gabby Chavez. Very difficult to get benched for a few races, have to look over the shoulder of Connor Daly, replacement driver, try to question whether or not the team still trusts you. Now he's back in and proving to his Harding team why he belongs in the car as we look back to Alexander Rossi on.
And Rob Edwards, you've been on the radio with Alexander Rossi talking a lot about fuel. Is the 3-stop strategy still alive?
It's alive, depending on what happens to it here in the end, but it's certainly possible at this point.
Is this super save? Is this a case almost like in the clutch and coast scenario?
We're too far away to know that right now. We're just trying to get to a certain lap number, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Thank you, Rob.
I think Rossi's showing incredible patience, Paul, because the temptation is, man, I can get a guy right now, but you've got to save the fuel.
He was having a look right then, so I think if he's got an opportunity where he gets a good run, he'll go for it. But I think right now, like we've been talking, he's got the strongest car, and Dixon just really can't pull up on the back of those lap cars.
And I think Power there in the 12 Verizon cars in the catbird seat because he pitted a lap later than Rossi, 2 laps later than Dixon. So Dixon right now, of the front runners, is the one that really needs to save to make it.
Well, normally the front runner is burning more fuel. How does this help Scott Dixon that he's running with lap traffic in front of him? No different than those behind.
Because Ed Carpenter in front is punching a nice big IndyCar hole for Scott Dixon to draft in and lift. And you can hear Dixon rolling out of the throttle there. He's a master at figuring out how to get mileage.
Well, I mentioned Gabby Chavez. Townsend talked about what he's doing as well. Let's hear from the boss, the team president of Harding Racing, with Katie.
And he is the biggest mover of the day, up more than 8 positions. Brian, what do you think Gabby learned during those races when he was sitting out?
Well, I think the team did a better job of giving him a better car on full tanks and a better car to run for long stints, and that's showing today. He's been aggressive on the start. We made a couple of good moves, had a good pit stop, and he got him up to 11th. Probably going to get out of line a little early here because we're hung up behind Hinch, and we're going to try and get him in and see if we can get a position in pit lane.
And guys, when he got out of the car on Friday, he told me this is quickly becoming his favorite short oval. He's having fun this weekend.
And don't forget that back in Barber, Alabama, Gerald Tyler showed up on the scene. Very experienced race engineer. I've worked with Gerald a lot, and I think Gerald's starting to find his feet too with the setup of this 2018 Aero Kit.
Well, that's a smart move for them to maybe pit a little bit early, get some clean air on that car, and try to rip off some laps and leapfrog some guys.
And Bomarito Automotive Group presents the biggest mover since the start of the race, and it is Gabby Chavez, who's picked up 8 positions. Zach Veach up 7. We talked about Ed Jones. He's been strong, moving up 5 spots. For Alexander Rossi, saving right now, it seems that as long as he can stay within range of Dixon and Power right there, that go ahead and save. If they start to pull away, then maybe you have to abort the strategy.
The more you save right now, the more you can burn later in the race when Alexander Rossi wants to put the dominant setup that he showed in practice to good work. So this pays dividends down the road.
Got a long way to go, too. We're not even halfway into this thing, so we're at 107 laps of 248, so still a long way to go. And pit stops and in and out laps, if they don't go yellow, are going to be critical to where you cycle out.
On board with Scott Dixon, lap traffic in front of him. He's already led over 100 laps in this race, in charge at Gateway. NASCAR pays tribute to 7 decades of racing and the legends who made them special. Don't miss the Southern 500 at Darlington next Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern on NBCSN. Coverage begins with NASCAR America at 5 o'clock Eastern. All right, PT, T-Bell, your favorite throwback, either a car you drove or one you were a fan of. Favorite livery?
For me, it'd be my very first IndyCar race, Patrick Racing 2001 in Lausitzring, Germany. A solid orange, no detail, just orange,
nice.
Like pumpkin orange, right around Halloween. Jimmy Vasser and Roberto Moreno were my teammates. How about you, Paul?
My favorite old school paint job was probably when I drove for Newman Haas. It was a Budweiser car. It was white and red like the Canadian flag. But I also, as we see Hunter Ray come in, I also like I like Ed Carpenter's helmet, that 70s style, sprint car style helmet.
Speed Demon.
Now, when you see cars pitting now like Ryan Hunter-Reay, this automatically puts you in a 4-stop window. So go ahead and use more fuel. They're going to go for +2 of turns on the front wing. There you go. They're getting, almost didn't get the left front wing all the way in. That's 7.3 seconds for Ryan Hunter-Reay.
And he's the first of the front runners. We've also seen Gabby Chavez, as Brian Barnhart told us. They were going to come in early because of traffic. There's Chavez there on the track going above it. Simon Pagenaud is now in.
Yes, and it's worth watching these cars. Just remember who is pitting now, because when they get back on the track, and look at this move on the racetrack.
On the outside, Will Power going for the lead. Side by side with Scott Dixon.
He ran high, way out in the gray. He tried to go too wide and ran wide. Rossi takes advantage. Rossi might get a run now on Dixon.
Over 100 laps of green flag running. There's going to be dust and marbles on that high line, and Power just figured that out. Challenge down the front straightaway, but great defensive move from Dixon.
Well, I think he might have got passed by his teammate, maybe. No, he did not. So that was lucky he didn't get up into the wall. He tried to hug it down tight. Oh, look at Newgarden loose right there.
Something happened to Newgarden because he was right behind Will Power. They were separated by just a few tenths of a second, and now Newgarden is slowing down.
Newgarden got... We don't know what's going on here with Newgarden. He got real loose. He might have hit the wall just like he did last night.
You can see the marbles, Paul, flying off his tires. Let's go to Anders.
And here comes Scott Dixon again. He reported a little bit too much understeer from that previous stop. So let's watch for them to add at least another turn of front wing. 1, 2. A full turn and a little bit of a hiccup there as Scott Dixon pulls out, Jan.
Now this is surprising. Will Power, he went the longest last time, but he has brought in, meaning he was using fuel. We watched Joseph Newgarden as Dixon leaves the pit, but that was a longer stop for Joseph Newgarden. The only visible change they made was the front wing.
The guy who's now on the track now, Rossi has made up that fuel deficit. He's still running. We'll see if he comes in next lap, so it's going to be critical for him to make it good in and out.
Rossi getting phenomenal mileage on that last stint. There you hear Rob Edwards, pit, pit, pit. Let's look at this again. Look at Power coming down the front straightaway. Dixon defends.
You're going to see Will Power here. He's going to try to hug him tight and stick right on his side pod, but he comes out of the groove and goes way up high, and there goes Rossi, goes right by.
Right on board with Dixon, looking out the back at Power.
Alexander Rossi has been able to go farther than those he was racing with, but is it far enough? This is still on the issue. I think you still would want to go 1 or 2 more laps to be sure you can make it in that 3-stop strategy. But He obviously is ahead of the game because he's pitting after Newgarden, he's pitting after Dixon, and after Will Power. That's 7.8 seconds, gets all the Sunoco, and we'll go back to see if this will be the overcut if he picks up any position.
Their stop was a 6.9, that was a 7.9. They're going to come out right close together here.
Dixon beats Rossi. Where is Will Power?
So he's still going to slide into second. Pagenaud right there has slid up into that group ahead of Power right now. So we've got a couple cars haven't pitted. We have Sato, Rahal, and Fittipaldi still on a different strategy.
So Pagenaud's the driver that's most benefited from the pit sequence. He's picked up spots. Sato, Rahal, Fittipaldi, that's the top three who all still need to make their second stop. The effective leader is still Scott Dixon, a couple of seconds in front of Alexander Rossi.
Jan, any report on what might have happened to Joseph Newgarden?
I just checked with the team, and they said the reason he dropped the pace so much is we see Graham Rahal come in. He got up into the marbles, and that's why he dropped so much pace for Newgarden.
I thought I could see marbles flying off of Newgarden's tires, so clearly trying to get things cleaned up as Graham Rahal's down and away.
So Sato still on track in the lead. Dixon has now moved up. There's Sato coming to the pit lane.
Yeah, and Takuma Sato very, very happy with the car. Actually just wants a little bit more front wing, so it's going to be a small wing adjustment. And of course the question is, now that he's pushed this lap 127, does that really mean that he can make this in a 3-stop race? And if so, if nobody else is able to do that, he could be in the catbird seat here from starting pretty far in the back.
Right now, Dixon has a really, really fast car on the short run. When he comes out of the pits, Townsend, look, he's got a 3-second lead. And then as the run goes on, guys like Rossi and Power were able to chase him down at the end of the run, and he was really struggling at the end.
So Joseph Newgarden now in 6th. Remember when Will Power tried to make the move around the outside, slid back. We didn't really see it first, but now I think we have it. This is from Power's onboard. So you can see this is Newgarden, his onboard, trying to go around the outside, and almost the same thing that happened to Power happened to him.
So Power was trying to gather his car back up after going high into the marbles in 1 and 2, and then he caught his teammate out. Newgarden had to lift and stay high through 3 and 4. He got into the gray, and Paul with the harder compound tire, you and I have seen this before, the marbles are not necessarily big chunks. It's like fine dust, and that accumulates. You can't see it when you're driving on the track.
So now after all this shakes out, it's back to a 3-second lead for Scott Dixon. Who's saving, who's not? We'll find out. Past the midpoint at Gateway in the Bomarito Automotive Group 500. Scott Dixon has led 124 of the 135 laps. Riding on board with him, about a 1.5 seconds in front of Alexander Rossi. Now, since we've reached the halfway point, let's remind you of the story that everyone has been following this week. That's the 6th car of Robert Wickens, his road course car that is here this weekend for Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. That car not entered this weekend, and we have new information. Another update was released just before the race this evening. Everyone has a sticker on their helmet. Hashtag #GetWellWickens. You've seen our pit reporters wearing Robbie's hats tonight. Some in the F1 community, the DTM community, the fans are rocking the red here tonight. They're used to that in Cardinalstown. And this was released just before we went on air at about 6:45 Eastern tonight. So some more positive news for Robert Wickens. He underwent some more surgeries a couple of days ago for his right arm and lower extremities. So everyone's still rooting and supporting Robert Wickens, his friends and family, as much as they can, and hoping for more good news. Now Scott Dixon is in traffic. Spencer Pigot, James Hinchcliffe, right in front of him.
Big time traffic. Rossi's there now, stuck back there behind Rahal and Sato, and they will not be easy work to get by. They're trying to fight to get back on the lead lap with Dixon just in front of them.
This is always a part of being good on short ovals. You've got to deal with traffic.
Big double draft there, nowhere for Dixon to go. Hinchcliffe gives up the position to Pigot. But right now we got another log jam. All the top dogs here all stacked up behind each other in traffic.
Now just behind Scott Dixon there, behind Hinch, that's Takuma Sato. Sato has a lot more fuel window to work with, along with his teammate Rahal, as Sato makes a move on Hinch. So Sato and Graham Rahal just need to hang.
Wide. He ran wide. You get out of that groove and you are dead meat.
Oh, Hinch getting chewed up. Let me just finish. Sato and Rahal just need to hang on to the tail end of Dixon, because if Dixon has to make 4 stops and Sato only 3, it's about a 35-second gap for an extra pit stop. So Sato and Rahal could be in a sweet situation if this stays green.
Let's hear radio from the 5 team at Hinchcliffe.
You got to pick one, track position or fuel number. We don't have the car to do both. It's got to be fuel number here, bud. It's got to be fuel number.
There's a lot of cars in front of us that are not going to make it. They're really going to struggle to make it in one stop. If we get the number, we will make it in one stop.
Whoa. I think Pagenaud just hit the wall. He was really slowing off the pace, or he either got out in the marbles. But there's guys now just all over the place. Look at, he's just getting past.
All these drivers are learning that there really aren't marbles. There's like a fine rubber, sand, or dust. And that's causing the issues. If you get just a little bit offline to the high side, you're going for a ride.
So there are 2 teammates. That's Power. You can see more orange on his Verizon colored car than Newgarden's tonight. They came close. And we're also told that Pagenaud did not hit the wall, just came very close.
He just missed the entry there. You'll see here, he protects down the inside, and then he sweeps out to the outside, and then he just turns in a little bit too late and misses that line, and he's just a little bit high, and he can't recover from it. He just gets stuck out there.
He was simply trying to leave his teammate room, and he has no idea until he experiences it, like we saw earlier with Newgarden, that there's just a lot of this accumulated rubber, dust, and sand up high. And I think it's from the harder compound tire that they've brought back. So should we get a yellow, if we get a yellow, we'll be probably seeing the track sweepers come out. Interestingly enough, this is the first season, guys, since 1990 that we've had this few number of yellows, as Rossi's now up in the gray.
He's the only guy that's hung on. Oh, there, he almost hit the wall. Oh my God, he saved it. I don't know how he saved that, but he stayed all the way around the corner with Will Power, and somehow he kept that off the wall.
He might have saved not only the car, but the championship for Alexander Rossi. That could have been disastrous in the points. Here it is again, side by side with Power.
He didn't give up, he just stayed there, and it went loose big time, and he's lucky he didn't slap the wall. Hunter-Reay goes by, he loses 2 positions.
Wow.
Still there. Still there, nothing behind you.
Full arms
locked,
opposite lock. So look at that sideways. Unbelievable.
You talk about slide job. There's your slide job.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Rossi will be fine. He now knows what's lurking for him on the high side. He's just got to settle back in. Hey, good news is, guys, you lift to save it. You also save a little fuel, and Rossi's got to do that to make it on one more stop.
Well, as you mentioned, that could have been a championship save. The top 4, certainly everyone but Scott Dixon, they can't afford a DNF. And look at this traffic right here, right behind Scott Dixon. Here comes Power working his way around Graham Rahal, trying to stay on the tail of Dixon.
He's on the move. He's flying right now. He almost got both of those guys.
Well, both of those guys were 4 laps shy of where they needed to get to make it on one more stop. So I think they've realized that, turned up the fuel knob, and they're going for it now. Here comes Power again.
Big run.
To the inside. Will Power looking for the lead, and he's got it. Will Power takes the point from Scott Dixon.
Now we got some racing going on. Tires are going away. Guys are making moves in traffic.
Take it ahead. Gonna put him a lap down here.
Will Power's car is really, really strong through 3 and 4. Look at that. He got a nice run on Piggott right there. He's the only guy coming off of turn 4 right now with authority.
He's going to take care of Piggott there without any problem. Now, let's see what Will Power can do.
Okay, work on fuel.
And he's got almost a full straightaway of clean track in front of him.
And they're telling Will Power now to work on fuel. That was Roger Penske. Runs a strategy for Will Power, saying to work on fuel. They want to give themselves flexibility. Even if they can't make it under green, if they get a yellow, they want the flexibility on.
Yes, and Roger Penske in the radio communications before, they were trying to encourage Will, saying, you're the only one making passes. But the moment he got into clean air, they're like, okay, back to a fuel strategy. Some people coming in early, like Ed Carpenter, that's way off. The 3-stopper, of course, they committed earlier on. Now we see in clean air if Will Power can back off and keep himself in the window. I don't think he's alive for an overall 3-stopper, but he loves this clean air, and he's racing away.
Pace has really slowed down from the beginning of the race when it was hotter. They're up, main guys, the 26.5 for Dixon. They were running in the low 25s at the beginning of the race.
And the good news for Takuma Sato, look at Sato defending on Hunter-Reay. He doesn't have to defend too hard. That puts Sato a lap down, but all Sato has to do is hang in with the leaders, because if they have to make one extra stop, Sato's going to be sitting pretty.
Meanwhile,
inside.
Car got another run on Rossi. He tried to take a look on the outside. Don't hang out there.
One more inside.
And I think he's learned, Paul. Alexander Rossi knows if I try to run too wide, I'm going to have a whole handful of IndyCar through the apex of the corner, up in that gray, up in that dirty tire dust.
He had a big run on Sato and tried to hang it out on the outside a little bit and just couldn't get the car turned, and that allowed Rahal to get a run back by him.
So Alexander Rossi in 4th right now. Ryan Hunter-Reay in front of him. Scott Dixon in 2nd, who has led the most laps and already clinched bonus points. 3 bonus points for that, along with leading a lap and leading the most.
I want to go back to yellow flag stats for a second. I said earlier, this year we've had 38 yellow flags through 14 races. 1990 we had 35, so it's been that long, 28 years, since we've had this few yellows in a season. You know what happened in 1991, Paul, to change that?
What's that?
You started.
Uh-oh. Well, let's talk team tactics here. If this race continues to keep going down like this, Hunter-Reay is kind of, after that crash last weekend in Pocono, is kind of effectively a little bit too far out on the championship. Will he help his teammate and swap positions with him for the points?
I don't think it would be happening here. I would think all the way to Sonoma before we saw that kind of scenario. Hunter-Reay still very much mathematically alive.
The guy who's flying right now is Will Power. Biggest lead so far of the race. He's out to 4.1 seconds. He's just flying around the track.
And he's still got some clean track in front of him before he catches up with more lap traffic. What a segment this has been in the last few minutes. First, a bold move for the lead. Will Power to the inside of Scott Dixon, and Alexander Rossi working hard to keep it out of the fence. Football is finally back Thursday, September 6th, and it'll be a party in Philadelphia when the Eagles raise their first Super Bowl banner before taking on the Atlanta Falcons. A new NFL season kicks off Thursday, September 6th, only on NBC. Who will be the Eagles quarterback? One of the questions as we work our way through week number 3 of the preseason. And here, we're working past the midpoint with all kinds of activity in the last little stint. Scott Dixon was dominating. Will Power got by him. Dixon runs 2nd, then Hunter-Reay, and then on board with Alexander Rossi, who's in 4th right now, but might be in the best position for fuel strategy.
You see, he just reached for his fuel knob as Charlie Kimball is slow on the front straight. We understand he might have touched the wall. Really slow. Oh, no, he's in the gray. He's going to hit the wall again.
Now, so
will we see the first caution since the opening moments of the race? Sebastian Bourdais lost it on lap 1. That's the only caution that we've had, and we've stayed green since that second start.
See Charlie way out in the gray. He hit the wall pretty good out there in turn 4, and then he went down to turn 1.
You know, in years gone by, Paul,
didn't even turn. It was probably bent to toe link.
That would be an automatic yellow. The flag man would be right up on it, and it seems like this year it's all about staying green. So you see the damage to both the right front and the right rear. We'll see if they can get the right side tires off. Sometimes it mushrooms the hub.
See all the marbles on the tires? So we now see the amount of pickup out there as he's got a bent toe link, and that's going to take quite a few laps to change that here. Power right now, 3.8 second lead over Dixon. It's kind of come back a little bit. Rossi 6 seconds behind Power.
Will Power in charge right now. He's still alive in the championship. 4th right now, 81 back. And remember this stat I mentioned in the pre-race. It's really remarkable that he's in the championship. He's the only one in the top 4 that has a DNF all year, and he's got 4 of them, really 5 when you include Toronto when he finished 2 laps down.
Yep. If you look at the stats of the front runners, Dixon, Power, Hunter-Reay, all these guys, Will Power actually has for his career the lowest percentage DNF of any of those drivers. That stat surprised me. This has been a very uncharacteristic season for DNS, as you said, Kevin, for Will Power. And look at the Ganassi stats. Dixon started first, currently second, and Ed Jones with a nice solid run tonight runs in 6th.
I wonder how our DNF percentage stacks up, Townsend.
I can tell you it is not favorable. Not favorable.
We looked it up yesterday.
I'm worse than Paul.
Marco Andretti making his 3rd stop.
And Marco Andretti complaining of a loose car, so they're going to take out a little bit of front wing, just saying, anytime I get up close to someone really struggling, but no wing change, surprisingly, so possibly a tire pressure change here for Marco Andretti. He's back on his way.
Pretty simple. We know he's got 1 more stop to go. So what's the magic number as far as a lap that we're looking at? If you can get to that lap, it could be your last stop.
I think you're looking at about 187. Lap 187 gives you 62 laps to get home. We saw Power hit that 62 number. I think Rossi did 62 laps. But how much fuel they've saved in this stint, we don't know. But we're going to find out here in about another 15 laps.
Will Powers put his foot back on the gas pedal. He's back out to almost 5 seconds.
Look at Tony Kanaan.
We see Kanaan and Marco racing for position. But right now, Powers got his foot down on the gas, and he's trying to stretch out that lead. And he might be having to come early.
Ooh.
Oh, car coming in.
That's
Ryan
a surprise.
Hunter-Reay, well, he was the earliest of the leaders to pit. He pitted 4 laps earlier.
He stayed. He pulled on track. He's dead stick.
Well, this sounds reminiscent of Pocono a couple of years ago when he had the power go off.
He said, what happened? There's the yellow. Yellow flag for the
all the way in, Ryan.
For the yellow car. Hunter-Reay just said, what happened? I don't know. The engine just shut off, as you said, Kevin. That's happened
See if it'll take a power cycle, Ryan, and refire.
Well, that was smart to stay on the track for him to bring the yellow out. If they can get it restarted, maybe he's got a chance.
Well,
there could still be a factor.
We're going to have our first yellow flag pit stop exchange, and this is a tight pit lane. It's very narrow here, so it's going to be really tricky to get in and out on this deal.
This yellow really hurts Graham Rahal, Takuma Sato, because it allows the guys to stay out. But I think everybody's going to pit, Jan, right? So what does that do? Because you can't make it to the end. Depends on how long the yellow is. I think they're going to sweep.
Well, the complexion of this race changed completely. I don't even think with a lot of yellow you can get home with the stop they're going to make now.
Well,
so this just changed it to be well, again, without significant yellow, there's going to be a 2-stopper now. So those who were saving fuel, unfortunately, I think that's gone out the window.
I think, though, IndyCar is going to sweep the track.
Well,
so I think we could get 10 laps of yellow here while they sweep up all that dust that has caused these issues, as Hunter-Reay is just trying to barely creep it back to his box.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to make it because he's pretty far down, and he's right kind of at the head of the pit. So there's some crew guys now just showing up to push the car, which you can see how far down the pit lane he is. So this is going to delay the pit stops here. They got to get him out of the way of the pit lane.
So anyone that was set to make it home on 1 more stop, like we think maybe Alexander,
They're going to try and restart it.
like Alexander Rossi, that advantage goes away. Everyone's back on the same strategy.
Unless you pitted like, say, Ed Carpenter did, or Hunter-Reay having this issue.
They're going to try and do a start right here with the starter motor and see if they can refire this car. It wouldn't bump start.
Looks
I
more
saw
like
them pull the starter out of the back of the truck, but they're going to pull him. So this is delaying everything.
See Ray Gosselin.
And you could just tell Ray said they got it started, but Ryan Hunter-Reay was a factor but to potentially win. He was running in 3rd.
And this is brutal because now Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to have the pain of watching the field pass him on the track as he's on pit lane, putting him another lap down.
And any delay here on pit lane to pause or to delay the opening of pit lane, each lap changes the strategy. So the earlier this pit lane opens, the less likelihood that this will be the final stop. So a lot to play here. I agree, Townsend. There could be quite a bit of sweeping time for yellow, but it's going to take, I think it's going to take 10 or 20 laps of yellow to make this only a one-stop race from here.
Yeah, I think they need about 12 laps of yellow from here on out. So it just depends on how comprehensive the sweep is, and I think IndyCar really has the strategy in their hands. Do they make this a long yellow so everybody's able to run to the end, or do they kind of, you know, rush to get back to green, and some guys will very much be on the bubble.
Well, everything anyone has done up to this point is gone. It's all starting over. So as a fan, I prefer they just run hard the rest of the way and everybody has to do 2 more stops.
I agree.
Go green as soon as you can.
Phantom stall, but there's something going on here. It doesn't sound clean. Like he's trying to pull away. It's misfiring.
Shut it off, shut it off, shut it off. Shut it off.
It fired right up, but it did not sound good.
So frustrating. I mean, Ryan Hunter-Reay, I think, had this happen at Long Beach one year. Pocono.
Yeah, Pocono's the one I remember first from 2 years ago when he was, if not leading, he was up front, and then he charged still back to third in that race.
And he's going to lose another lap here.
Oh.
Now they're going to take the left side pot off, probably replace the black box, the ECU, I would guess, Paul.
He's a guy that's got no luck at all. So sweeper right there is out on track, so they are sweeping the track. They're going to give these guys the opportunity to really get racy here on this restart. So this pit stop and the restart that's coming is going to be wild, and yellows breed yellows.
Pits are open. Power, Dixon, Rossi, Newgarden, Jones, the top 5 all headed down pit lane at 50 miles per hour, right on the brakes, right there, headed towards Anders.
Yeah, and Scott Dixon had committed to a 3-stop strategy, but now obviously that blows that completely out of the water. He's going to fill that up with some Sunoco fuel, put a brand new set of tires on, and be on his way. Very happy with the balance.
And for Alexander Rossi and for Will Power, the most important thing right now is track position. Yes, they want all the Sunoco fuel to get to the end, but we see that Dixon has launched. We're watching to see, oh, and here comes Power. It's going to be neck and neck, but it looks like he beats Dixon to the line.
Rossi comes out 3rd, Newgarden 4th. Battle for 5th there between Veach and Jones is close, with Pagenaud close behind. Veach beat him out.
That was a really quick stop by Dixon, a 6.9. Power just barely beat him out.
This yellow really helped Simon Pagenaud. Remember, before he had that moment, he had fallen all the way back to the last car in the lead lap, 9th. He had been running as high as 3rd. There's the race off pit lane with Will Power winning by almost a car length, about a half a car length on Scott Dixon. And here's Dixon's PNC Bank on board. So, brand new ball game here. We've got a restart coming up. Anybody saving? We hope not. Let's go after it. There on Joseph Newgarden, back there in that second silver car for 5th. Jones in the blue NTT Data car, looking back on board from Newgarden.
The guy to watch out for is little Zach Veach, is all over the back of Rossi. He's kind of come all the way through the field from the back. Look at this kid.
You can call me what you want, but don't call me little. I'm coming in a big way.
Best finish for Zach Veach in his rookie season, 4th at Long Beach. Remember, he had a good run at Pocono, 6th last week.
21, you got to get that. Everybody's going to be doing the same thing.
They're talking to Zach Veach about fuel mileage. So I'm surprised, Jan. I'd be shocked if anybody could make it to the end.
No, I don't think you can without help. There's no question that you're short. If this stays green, I agree with you, Townsend. You're not making it all the way home. But the thing is, if you don't save a little bit of fuel now and then you catch a caution, then you're going to still have to pit. So it's kind of like, well, just in case, I better hedge my bets. But it won't be long, and they'll turn everybody loose. They'll say, you know what, we can't make it. Let's go hammer down.
Zach Veach is looking at his best finish as we see his other teammate, Ryan Hunter-Reay, climbing out. But Zach Veach right now can play as a protection role for Rossi and protect him from Newgarden and Jones, who are all over the back of him.
Real disappointment for Ryan Hunter-Reay. He was feeling light in the step going into Pocono, had the big shunt. He was caught up with the Wickens accident. 2 guys going for it in the same corner, and now this mechanical or electrical failure ends the day for Ryan Hunter-Reay and potentially puts him out of the championship reach.
Newgarden took a look at Zach Veach, back on board with Veach. Did he wiggle a little bit?
Oh yeah. He
def.
wiggled big, and Newgarden got a run on him coming around turn 3 and 4, and he had to protect on him, but he's recovered now and pulled back away.
Saw Zach Veach with the left hand go right down to the rear any roll bar, and he was pushing that forward, which is softening it up, trying to find some more grip.
Look at that, he stayed in it. He's still just a few car lengths behind Alexander Rossi. Biggest movers of the race? Well, that's Zach Veach. Remember, they started on points because qualifying was rained out. He had a good car, and he has made it work for him.
I think he's driving with a little extra anger after getting a 7 in What You Cookin'.
I think there needs to be an investigation into the judging. That's why I've recused myself.
Whoa, look at this.
Ed Jones, big protection move on Pagenaud, who had a run on him. Tony Kanaan recovering now, coming back up through the field right there.
Look at the lap time for Scott Dixon, though, 26.3, almost 26.4. Dixon now catching up to Power. I mean, the lap times guys suggest everybody might be saving fuel. As you see Pagenaud taking a look.
Was that a defensive move to block him, or is that just the normal line?
That was
to set up for the turn?
That was defensive to quite defensive.
That's Pagenaud running in 7th.
I thought it was an aggressive proactive. I'm going to put it in that gray area of indecision. How'd you like to be race control and have to deal with stuff like that?
No thanks.
It's guys like Ari Leyendyk and Max Pappas that have stepped up to the plate and said, I'll be that guy.
After the yellow, and some got the wave around, 12 on the lead lap right now, down to Pietro Fittipaldi in 12th, James Hinchcliffe, Graham Rahal, Takuma Sato. Not at the tail end of the lead lap. They're within 6, 8, 10 seconds after the caution. They're all lined up again.
Well, Power's big advantage he had on that last run where he was coming on strong. Look at that. Newgarden has gotten by Ed Jones, but right now Power, with that advantage he had on that last long run, he's got Dixon all over the back of him.
Unfortunately, Ryan Hunter-Reay has climbed out of the car earlier than he wanted. He's with Jan.
Yes, he has. You can see by the look on his face. Obviously, a big letdown. You were happy with your car. What ultimately was the issue?
Something fuel pressure. All of a sudden, it just died as I was coming out of 4, and it's a real shame. We had been making the car better and better, and we were marching forward. Yeah, what can I say? I think I got away with a big one last weekend, you know, so I can't say I have bad luck at the moment, but just thinking about Robbie. We're all praying for him. What I have going on here is nothing compared to what his fight's going on, so we're all thinking about him and wish him the best and a speedy recovery. I was having fun out there. It's a bummer, but that's racing.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Disappointing day for Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Big defensive move by Dixon to hold off Rossi, who had a run on him on the front straightaway.
Can you imagine what a drive-through penalty would mean for Scott Dixon? You got to be so careful, right? You're driving for every point. You're racing for a championship.
What's going on with Newgarden? Newgarden was way up there. Now he's fading back through the pack. I wonder if he got up in the gray again, because he was all the way up in front of Zach Veach.
And look at this. Scott Dixon taking a look on Will Powers outside. Can't get him there. That allows Rossi to get a little closer. By the way, Piggott back there is still in the lead lap that we saw in the mix there.
Good job. Heads up. Everyone's doing silly stuff. Doesn't make it here.
Guys are, like he said, they're saving fuel. They're cutting the throttle back way early down the straight. And look at that big dive bomb. That's a slide job extraordinaire.
Luckily for Zach Veach, the track sweep. If that had happened before the yellow, Zach Veach would have been going for a ride, as Pagenaud wants to join the conversation now.
So everybody's chopping the throttle off way early, coasting into the corners, and the guy that drives it in deep, like right here, you might have a chance to just dive in underneath.
Rossi in 3rd, looking at 2nd. Over 250 passes so far. There is the lead of the race. Power, Dixon, Rossi, 1, 2, 3. Ed Jones is right behind Rossi. Then it's Zach Veach in 5th in the blue car, or I should say in the kind of turquoise and brown car.
Ed
Jones behind him.
Ed Jones, big move right here, big speed going in. He knows that if he's going to keep this job next year, he has got to get in front of Rossi and help his teammate.
And if not that job, he's auditioning for others.
Veach probably knows better than to get in front of his teammate.
Hey, Jan, how urgent is the fuel information coming from pit lane? Is there a lot of chatter right now about mileage?
Well, I think they're going to be turning them loose. If you haven't already turned someone loose now, I think it's evident you cannot make it to the end, so therefore, go for it. You're not going to really save anything by saving fuel now, because I think that's out of the window. Let's go racing and not save any.
Well, Ed Jones has gotten by Rossi just like I said he needed to do to help his teammate. Now his job will be instructed to him is to sit there and stay behind your teammate.
What a run for Ed Jones. And he appears to be quicker than Scott Dixon right now.
Maybe not.
Yeah, and Ed Jones at the moment just on a charge of his life, and that is because he has aborted the opportunity to go for a three-stopper. He's just going all out, full rich with a fuel mixture whatsoever, and I think everyone else are kind of left in limbo a little bit, and that's exactly what Mike Hull told Scott Dixon a little while ago. We're just going to react to whatever the 12 car and 27 cars do, and that's not a nice feeling. As Zach Veach with a nice move down the inside of Alexander Rossi.
Zach Veach passes his teammate, and we got a lot of guys coming and going here, whether they're going to go on the fuel mileage or not. So these guys look like they're just going to go for it.
What a tremendous job Zach Veach has done this season, his rookie year, learning. Start of the year, easily the 4th Andretti driver on track. Now, the best Andretti driver on track.
Look at this. Can he hold it out there? No, he cannot.
That's the 2nd year in a row that Simon Pagenaud has been insulted down at turn 1.
Whoa, which way are they going to go? This way, that way?
Piggott popping to the outside, trying to work on Pagenaud. Can't get him there. We go back on board with Joseph Newgarden. He slipped back to 8th. That's Piggott in front of him. Then Pagenaud, Rossi, Veach, Jones, Dixon. Power up front.
If we know they can't make it, Jan, why are they letting these guys give up positions? Why not just go?
Well, I think there's still the strategy that just in case there's a caution, there is such a big penalty per pitting. It's 1.5 laps. So all of a sudden you have a caution, you want to have something in the fuel tank to be able to bring you home. So they're kind of hedging their bets. Again, there's going to be some people you're going to completely let them loose, and they're going to be flying.
I think a lot of these guys, Paul, are saying, hey, if there's not a caution, I'm going to make one.
And are the teams splitting strategy a little bit? As was reported, Ed Jones not saving as we see Will Power making his way around the lap car of James Hinchcliffe. Maybe Zach Veach is the Andretti that's not saving.
Could very well be. Now Pagenaud, little run through 3 and 4, back on Alexander Rossi. I'll bet Pagenaud's had enough of the turn 1 pushing and shoving.
He's ready to give some back here. Not close enough this time. That battle is for 5th. Rossi is in 5th position.
Power right now, with him leading the race, has moved into 3rd in the overall championship. He had a disastrous start of the season. He had a couple of crashes early. St. Pete, he crashed out right away. A couple other races. Had a disastrous season going in. Now look at this big move down the inside.
Strong move. To me, this says Alexander Rossi absolutely plans to go to the end. He's way too slow relative to the speed we know to have in his car, as this is a cluster here. That's Newgarden working Piggott, and they're all stacked up.
So back on Newgarden here.
Let's listen to Joseph Newgarden's radio communication.
Hey, you want me to hit the number, right? I'm not going to hit it now. I mean, what do you want then? That's absolutely all we can do is hit our number. These other guys seem like they're hitting their number, the Hondas. I don't know much what else to tell you. I mean, you do an overlay and look at it and tell me how to do it different, because I don't know how to do it different for you. Hey, I'm with you, man. I'm on your team. If 3rd gear out of turn 1 helps you or not. It doesn't.
You can hear the frustration in Newgarden's voice talking to Tim Cindric, and you know, Tim frustrated as well, like, hey, we're not going to make it like we're running right now. Newgarden's like, well, just tell me how do I do it? What do I need to change?
These two cats right here, Veach and Ed Jones, I guarantee you they're not trying to save fuel to make it to the end. They're running wide open. So look, real close there, 3 wide. But these guys, I don't think are going to make it, Jan. I think these guys are just going for it.
I agree. I mean, it's going to be a miracle if we, if you keep throttling somebody back, they're side by side. Some people are goers and some people are saving fuel. This is fascinating, Katie.
Yeah, and this is a great rebound for Spencer Pigot. They'd kind of been scratching their heads all weekend, searching for speed after Spencer scored his first career podium on the last short oval back in Iowa, but he told me he has actually found a car that is good in traffic, that kind of lacks all-out speed. He is also has a 4-lap advantage on fuel, guys.
Yeah, he came in and topped off after getting the wave around. He pitted on 181. Everyone in front of him made a stop at 177.
Great point.
Pigot right now flying his lap times.
And look at Rossi. Rossi just doing the 2016 Indy 500 move here. Absolutely doing whatever it takes to get the number, but if a yellow comes out, he'll regret it.
All right, final break, and then we are clear to the finish. This is far from done. Will Power leading at Gateway. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Tag Heuer, official timepiece of the IndyCar Series. By Firestone, whatever you drive, drive a Firestone. And by Bomarito Automotive Group. Shop Bomarito.com, where price sells cars. Will Power got by Scott Dixon on lap 150. Now he's just gotten through some lap traffic. He is going hard, not saving. And when he cleared lap traffic, now he's back in it. He was up by 4.6 seconds. He's added over 3 seconds just to the last few laps as he continues to work his way through. And he's just turned the fastest lap of the race.
He's turning on the gas, and he's running a second a lap faster than Dixon. Dixon's been flip-flopping back and forth on whether they can do it, not do it. But Ray Hall looks like he's in big fuel savings mode as well.
Well, but Ray Hall had the benefit. So all these guys, Ray Hall, Pigot, Sato, they were all a lap down. Not only did they get the wave by on the last yellow, they were allowed to top up as per the rules on lap 181. So now they're probably good on fuel. And if it stays green, all those guys could podium.
Big run by Veach. Up to
Still there.
fourth place. What a great pass by him. But Pagenaud up in third now behind Dixon.
So we think Dixon has bailed on fuel save, but Alexander Rossi stays committed. Here comes Pigot on Jones.
Pigot's flying. He pitted 4 laps later than everybody else, so he's got the most gas, and he is wide open.
Spencer Pigot running now in 5th.
Passing all over the track. What a contrast from the start of this race.
Newgarden to the inside of Ed Jones. Newgarden to 6th.
Now, going back to strategy, if a yellow comes out, it really hurts Alexander Rossi, who's committed in saving. If a yellow doesn't come out for the championship, we think Scott Dixon would have to pit, and that would put Rossi ahead of Dixon for the race finishing position. So a lot to play here with 25 laps to go.
So Alexander Rossi in turn 4 right now, and Will Power is right now in turn 4, so Power is catching up to him, Jan.
Yes, and this is a fascinating scenario. We know already that Will Power is no longer saving. We think that's the case for Scott Dixon, but what we do know, the one person, like you said, Townsend, that is committed in the championship race is Alexander Rossi, but it's not a guarantee. It is going to be a super save. Run around, don't change gears, coast, maybe even a clutch and coast. This is potentially 100th running of the Indy 500 all over again for Alexander Rossi from a championship standpoint.
If we just go back to Alexander Rossi's in-car, let's just listen to the driving style. That'll tell us everything. He's in 6th gear.
Yeah,
He's not even shifting.
Short shifts. He's not even downshifting for the corners. Guys now are coming, Anders.
Yeah, and Ed Jones coming into pit lane, and there's a reason why you saw him move so quickly through the field. That was because they were wide open. Only fuel, a short fuel actually to the end here to get to the end of the race.
Jones has been running in the top 5, back out, but he can go hard the rest of the way, and now he wants it to stay green.
For sure.
We know Rossi is a fuel savings master. He won the Indy 500, but look at this. Will Power is going to be breathing down his neck to put him a lap down.
Power still got a couple of cars between them.
It's okay if Power puts him a lap down, but it's not okay if Rossi falls more than about 15 seconds behind. That's about the 35, 37 seconds it takes that you lose on pit lane if Power has to make an additional stop.
Here's the run. Will Power putting Alexander Rossi a lap down. Rossi on super save. Power going after it, is going to have to pit one more time.
This is the Indy 500 playing out all over again for Alexander Rossi.
So nerve-wracking. There's no way anybody could talk me as a driver into doing this kind of a race. This is not my style. You have to be so patient and just remain so calm when you have all these guys
Getting your rhythm.
flying by.
But for Alexander Rossi, this delivered an Indy 500 win his rookie year, so he has the exact same guy on the timing stand with Rob Edwards. Full confidence. Actually, it was Brian Herta on the timing stand that year, but he knows he can do it.
But he doesn't have you right in front of him to draft off of.
Oh, don't remind me.
Rossi, a three-time winner.
On your fuel, just keep working on your lap time, roll as much speed as you can. Good on fuel.
This season with Scott Dixon and Joseph Newgarden, Power the leader, trying to get his third win.
They're saying he's good on fuel if he maintains this pace. Is Will Power good on fuel? We don't think so, Jan.
No, in fact, they're setting up to give him a splash and go right now. The Penske crew is getting out in position in pit lane, so Will Power, we saw he turned up the wick. He's going to come in and get a splash of Sunoco fuel. In fact, he's on pit road right now. This will be quick, but again, 37 seconds is with a full fill. So therefore, this pit delta, the time that he loses, will be more towards 30, 32 seconds. Again, did he give enough space to Rossi to get back in contention? This will be a time stop. That's it. 4.2 seconds. And let's watch carefully where he merges. Look for Rossi.
So Rossi should be well ahead of Power. There goes Rossi. And now Power has 16 laps at full fuel. I think he's going to have a great chance to get Rossi.
Well, it'll be no problem. He's got full fuel. He can run wide open. Rossi's got to keep backing it down. So he came out right behind him.
And Rossi is stuck in this strategy now for the championship. He has to hang on just to try to score the most points that he can, but Power is surely going to catch him.
Rossi's concern is really not Will Power. It's where is Dixon going to come out? When will he pit, and how long will he pit, and where will he come out when they cycle around?
And if you're Dixon, Pagenaud, Veach, you are hoping for a yellow right now.
And is anyone else on super save that can try to make it? Scott Dixon with Simon Pagenaud running second. Behind him, Zach Veach is third. Spencer Pigot fourth, and Joseph Newgarden is fifth.
Will Power coming up on Andretti. Andretti's got to work his tail off to keep him behind to try to help his teammate, if at all possible.
Yeah, Marco Andretti 2 laps down. I would think race control is going to force the blue flag here pretty soon. Oh, that's going to frustrate Power.
Still +5 back to Marco, 2 back from him.
For Alexander Rossi, he's stuck in traffic too and doesn't have the fuel to burn to make any moves. So
he's got the draft, which is going to help. But look at that big run coming off the corner by Will Power. Andretti doesn't even try to defend, being 2 laps down.
But Scott Dixon in the back there, just behind Rossi, about 5 seconds back. If Dixon has to pit, Rossi will finish ahead and draw closer in championship points.
Rossi doesn't even try.
Inside.
He doesn't even try to defend that position.
Smart move. Championship thinking there for Rossi.
That's for 6th. But Power is the only one of the front runners that is good on fuel that we are certain of. Simon Pagenaud pits from second, 10 laps short of the distance. And there you see Dixon's team also preparing. Jan.
So that is the answer to the question, which we saw apparent. Without a caution, they need just a little bit of Sunoco fuel. We've seen about 4 seconds is what you need. That's even quicker. The later you stop like Dixon here, it won't take as much to get that fuel.
And that doesn't help him coming in the pits. He got held up a little bit by Chilton. So let's see how much fuel he takes and where he's going to cycle out in relationship to Rossi.
Probably about 10 seconds, maybe 6 seconds behind
Man, that's
Rossi.
a fast stop. That's 2.8 seconds, so
where's
a
Rossi?
lot less fuel.
There he is. Rossi on the front straight. Passes start finish. Dixon exiting. No problem. Alexander Rossi goes, but now Dixon has 10 laps to catch him, just like Will Power did.
10 laps to catch, but a lot of cars in between. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and here comes Pagenaud at speed, so he's got to hold off Pagenaud. This could turn into a nightmare situation for Dixon if Rossi gets the run on him here and gets points.
Well, but Will Power is in charge unless somehow Zach Veach can get to the finish.
Not the way Zach Veach was driving earlier. That's your answer right there. He has to come in for fuel. He's coming back out. So you've got Kanaan 2 laps down. You've got Marco 2 laps down. Scott Dixon needs those guys to move out of the way to give him a shot at Rossi at the finish.
He's got now a couple of cars he's gotten by. He's got to get by Hinchcliffe. Veach is in the pits. Will Power is back in control. Can Rossi hold off Dixon? 8 laps to go.
Such a disciplined drive from Alexander Rossi to save the fuel, but I'm sure he's frustrated to see Will Power right there for the race win and not really being able to do much about it.
So that battle is for second between Rossi and Dixon with implications on the championship. But this is Will Power's race as he works his way through traffic. Barring a mistake, there's not a scenario where it gets out of his hands. Rossi is trying to make it on one less stop, but Power is already in front and has no fuel concerns.
But maybe Rossi saved just enough fuel to be able to turn it up in the last 2 laps. We'll hear maybe from Rob Edwards, coaching Rossi on how good of a job. Maybe he's done too good of a job and he's got money in the bank to burn here now.
Well, he goes by Ray Hall, who's been off the pace for quite a while, so now he's got a nice buffer to Dixon. I think this is a case scenario where he's going to ride it home and not worry about Power. See all the cars in between him and Rossi. Six laps to go. A lot of cars. He whistles by Andretti.
Look at that. Alexander Rossi still has a shot here. 1.9 seconds, 5 laps to go. We'll be watching that gap and the gap, which is another 2.1 seconds back to Dixon.
His only chance is if Will Power really gets caught up in traffic.
488 open on P2, 4 laps to go.
And there is traffic in front of Will Power as Scott Dixon moves past Matthias Lace.
Tell you what, Dixon is now closing fast. He's only got 1 car with Ray Hall in front of him, and Ray Hall's off the pace. He might catch Rossi.
Some really strong, impressive runs tonight. Zach Veach running in 5th, Spencer Pigot in 6th, Ed Jones in 8th, Takuma Sato 9th right now.
Big run by Dixon. He's going to go right by Graham Rahal in the next car in line is Rossi with 3 to go. He's chasing him down, Townsend.
And I wonder, is Rossi still having to save, or does he have a shot to catch up to Will Power, who's now caught lap traffic?
He's going to catch him on the last lap at the last corner. Does he have enough to turn it up for a corner as Will Power goes by Sato? 2 to go.
At the moment, Dixon's championship lead would be 26 on Alexander Rossi, so this is a big position right here.
When do you turn him loose, Jan? When do you turn him loose?
I'm standing here trying to overhear the radio. There's a lot of conversation here on Alexander Rossi's stance. Of course, I don't want to interrupt that conversation, but they know that they may have to turn him loose to some degree, but run the risk of not making the line.
Huge move for Rossi to get by Sato. Rossi now should have clean air.
He's going to catch him at the last corner. If he can get by Sato, he might have a run to the line, but I don't think he's going to get it.
1 lap to go as Dixon tries to track down Rossi to pick up championship points and finish second. Will Power trying to keep his championship hopes alive. A splash of fuel is plenty for him. Will Power wins for the 3rd time in 2018 and keeps his championship hopes alive.
Good job, guys.
And Rossi hangs on for second in front of Scott Dixon. Big championship implications there, and we saw 2 different strategies to some degree work out. Rossi and Dixon opposites. Pagenaud gets a top 5 and 4th, and what a run for Zach Veach.
You can almost hear the Rossi interview now, like, gosh, Dixon never has a bad day. That's what he's been saying. Well, he keeps trying to make the gap as Roger Penske gets another IndyCar win.
3 points is 3 points. He's clawed it down to 26, so you got to take what you can get.
35th career win for Will Power moves him into a tie for 7th on the all-time list with the legendary Bobby Unser. And it's Roger Penske's 4th consecutive win here at this track, going back
We've
to
talked,
the 90s.
How about this? We've talked for the last couple of years about how superior Scott Dixon's fuel-safe driving is. Rossi's the new king of that.
Yes. We talked all day yesterday about how bad the Penske's were yesterday in practice, and they've just racked up 4 wins in a row here.
Well, we talk about Alexander Rossi saying that Scott Dixon never has a bad day. Will Power has been saying the same mantra. He wins this race, and he still only picks up 13 points on Dixon in the championship because 2 of the other 3 had really good nights. Newgarden is the one who's most disadvantaged.
That was a bad day for Dixon, really, because he pretty much dominated the whole race, and then once the whole fuel strategy came in, he did not want to lose a position to Rossi.
Another quiet story of the day was Simon Pagenaud coming home in 4th and Hunter Ray having issues. Pagenaud now almost inside the top 5. So we see Scott Dixon coming out and Will Power. This guy loves driving on ovals now.
And how about a shout out for Zach Veach? Led his first laps, his best finish, I think now is a 5th.
He had a 4th at Long Beach.
Okay, so the unbelievable job by Zach Veach tonight too.
4 straight top 10s for Zach Veach. This is his 2nd top 5 in his rookie season. Will Power didn't like ovals. His engineer, David Faustino, didn't have a lot of experience. They learned together, and now Power is a master on every type of racetrack. There's his engineer, Faustino. They've been together for well over a decade now. Let's watch him climb out and celebrate here at Gateway.
We're good, Will. Will, you can get out. Look forward. You can stay in there.
And the look of elation with his wife, and now tapping the car, hugging the car in a way. And that was an incredible race. Will, getting congratulations from his teammates. That was such a touch and go scenario. First they told you to save fuel, then they said go for it. Did you have any idea when they pulled the plug that was going to work for a victory?
Well, I was seeing the number that I had to try to get, and I was like, man, everyone's going to have to go very slow to get it. And I thought we should go, and Roger just said go, so we did. And I mean, we had a great car. I was able to pass people. I was kind of mad at Dixon because he pushed me out in the marbles, so it gave me extra motivation to like get him back and try get to the front. So yeah, stoked for the Verizon crew. Was man, whew, never had so much fun and passed so many cars.
What about a race like this where you have to make that decision, because fuel-saved racing sometimes can be boring, but then they set you loose. It's almost like a dream come true. Some people are saving and they say, okay, Will, let's put the hammer down.
Exactly. I was just so like, come on, let's race this properly. And I was so stoked when they said, let's just go hard. And because we were able to get by people before that. And so much fun, man, when you can just go wide open. Yeah, I hate fuel saving.
You had a big moment when you got high earlier in the race, got in the marbles and barely saved it. How much of an issue was that?
Yeah, I had a couple of them. I tried to go around the outside Dixon, and he kind of ran me wide in the marble. So yeah, it was just so slippery up there. You couldn't get up there, but kept it off the wall this time. Yeah, fantastic job.
Brings it home with his 35th career victory, 3rd of the season, and that was a race to witness.
Very entertaining tonight. Different strategies. Will Power gets by Scott Dixon past the midpoint, and later on different strategies, goes around Alexander Rossi, who was trying to save to the finish, and that got Will Power to victory lane at Gateway. Lee Diffie will be back with us as well. Diff had a well-deserved night off, serving as the best man at Tyron Hooper's wedding. So congratulations to Tyron, and Tina Diff will join us again next weekend in Portland. Down to Katie.
And it is a 4th place for Simon Pagenaud today. But Simon, when you got out of the car, you said that was a rocket. What more did you have for him today?
I think we had a winning car. That just, unfortunately, when Will passed me, I was saving fuel, and I tried to hold the high lane. It didn't work. So we lost about 6-7 positions, and but we came back because the car was so good. What a shame, but in the meantime, I had a blast. It was awesome racing out there, especially at the end with the strategies. I think it just, it threw a curveball at everybody and made the racing really good at the end. So I think we had a winning car, but that's good. That's really good. My guys did a phenomenal job in pit lane. Ben, my engineer, last night really scratched his head. As you can see, he's losing hair actually. So it's awesome. Thanks to Canamoyo as well.
Ovals have really been your strength this season, but we're coming up on 2 straight road courses. How can something you learned here translate there?
Well, I think we're learning every time we get in this new car. Drop my bottle. But Portland is good. We have a test on Thursday, so we're going to be able to do a lot of development items that we've been thinking about, and that's going to be very welcome at the test, and hopefully will get me more competitive on the road course. I'm sure we'll find a way. Tim Penske, these guys are phenomenal. I love working with them, and they give me everything I need.
Thanks, Simon. Jan?
And of course, Zach Veach was in a battle with Simon Pagenaud there, but he just told me something very interesting. On that last stint, after about 10 laps, when everyone had to decide, do I save or do I go, how did you make that decision?
Yeah, well, we were trying to hit a fuel number that Rossi was, and with that, I was really under pressure between Jones and Pagenaud. So my idea at the time was to get around Rossi and then try to have some clean track to save fuel, but once I got out there, I just thought, well, let's just keep going and going, and even if we have to do a splash and go, hopefully it'd work out, and it did. We only lost a couple spots, and to walk away with the top 5 for the Group 1001 guys is awesome.
But the key is, you made that decision. You didn't wait from the call for pit lane. You decided, I'm going to go for it and burn fuel. That's unique. You don't hear that too often.
Well, you got to push, right? I knew I couldn't stay in that situation. I was really struggling to hit the fuel number. That's something I got to learn and get better at, but luckily it all worked out. So, I've had a ton of guidance from my teammates and my team to kind of put me in these situations. So, just so thankful to come out here and have another top 10 finish and another top 5.
Best oval finish, second best finish of the year for Zach Veach.
Nice run for Zach Veach. Strong for him for the second consecutive week, 4 straight top 10. Great look at the Gateway Arch. And we've got more to come from Gateway.
As Victory Lane celebrations continue here at Gateway Motorsports Park, I'm here with Spencer Pigot. Spencer, PT and T-Bell had you picked for the race win for a little bit there, but then you had to have that last little splash of fuel. What went wrong there?
I don't know if anything went wrong. I don't know if we were ever going to be able to make it. I think that was always the plan. And we were just going flat out as fast as we could go to try and make up as much track position as possible. And, the guys did a great job in pit lane, got me out quick. We were able to hang on to 6. So, really happy with that. Happy for the Fuzzies Vodka 21 Chevy. But yeah, sorry PT, sorry guys. I would have liked to win, but, I think 6 is pretty solid compared to how the beginning of the race went.
Well, and hey, we watched you battle it out with Alexander Rossi, pass him, and you still got onto your second best finish of your IndyCar career. That's got to feel great.
Yeah, it feels good. I think we've for sure come a long way this year, especially on short ovals. We think back to Phoenix, we really struggled, but the last couple have been really solid. So I think, this team has got a lot of good things going for us, and hopefully we can end the season on a high note as well.
Continuing the momentum, Kevin.
Many impressive performances in this one tonight, including for Spencer Pigot. Here are the final unofficial results from the Bomarito Automotive Group 500.
Well, you got to look at Power, Rossi, and Dixon. They're inverted in the championship points, so that's what I wanted to see this battle tighten up, and it has, Paul. It's going to be a lot of fun over the next 2 and final races.
Absolutely. Ed Carpenter's team with Pigot coming up, getting good results. And it's getting to be a very interesting championship as we come down now with 2 to go.
So Scott Dixon only loses 3 points on his championship lead, still up by 26, and he got the bonus points for most laps led tonight too.
Yeah, and for Joseph Newgarden, I think a frustrating night because he lived in that indecisive kind of on the bubble zone, whether go or don't go or save fuel, and they just left it too long before that decision was made. He comes home tonight in 7th and loses a point or a position in the championship to Power.
Same program for Scott Dixon. They were indecisive on what to do, and Rossi committed way early, and he beat him to the flag. So
that's the top 3 in the championship right there. Portland next Sunday afternoon, a weekend off, and then it's Sonoma for the title. Coming up next, it's Mecum Auto Auctions, Monterey. Verizon IndyCar Series racing continues from Portland International Raceway next Sunday. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern Time. For more information on the Verizon IndyCar Series, log on to NBCSports.com. Fun night in St. Louis. For Paul Tracy, Townsend Bell, Katie Hargett, Jan Beekes, Anders Krohn, and Robin Miller, I'm Kevin Lee. Congratulations. Will Power wins at Gateway.